The information shared on this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking care because of something you heard on this podcast. The views and opinions expressed by guests or hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any affiliated organizations. Reliance on any information provided by this podcast is solely at your own risk. Welcome back to the Healthy Image Podcast, where we break down health topics in a way that's easy to understand and helpful for real life. I'm your host, Veronica.
And I'm your co-host, Stacy.
And today we're talking about something that affects so many families: behavior, communication, and how to support children who may be struggling. We're joined by Dr. Luiza Andakyan, a behavior specialist and founder of Adamant Behavioral Services. She works closely with children and families using applied behavior analysis, also known as ABA, to build communication skills, confidence, and independence. If you're a parent, caregiver, or just curious about how behavior therapy really works, this episode is for you. Let's get started. Welcome, Dr. Andakyan.
Thank you for having me here today.
We're so excited to speak with you today. Luiza?
Yeah, you can call me Luiza. Totally fine.
Luiza, can you tell us a little bit more about, for someone who doesn't know anything about ABA, like myself, what does that mean in plain English?
Of course. So ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis. And in plain English, it just means that we're trying to understand behavior and teach skills that will help improve quality of life.
So who typically can benefit from ABA?
So honestly, everyone can benefit from applied behavior analysis. It is cool, and obviously I'm in the field, so I love ABA. I devoted my life to ABA. We are known specifically for surveying and helping children that were diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. However, ABA can be applied to education, parenting, leadership. It is used in brain injury treatments as well, and just in general personal development as well. It can be used anywhere.
So what are some of the common reasons why parents seek help?
Yeah. So a lot of times it could be this gut feeling that something is off, or they're having intense, challenging behaviors that parents just feel it's too much. It causes them a lot of overwhelm, a lot of stress. A lot of times it's a lack of communication or delayed communication. It could be, delays in play skills even. They're not playing like other children their age. Their social skills are delayed. They're not interested in other children. And just in general, knowing that there's just something off. And I think that sometimes the parents then get into this discussion of, no, he or she is fine, let them grow out of it. And then another parent is like, no, there's something off. But I think it's important that both parents or caregivers, whoever is involved in the child's life, to really sit down and look at the milestones. There's actually a lot of apps out there that you can pull up, look at the milestones and say, are they hitting milestones? If they're a little bit off, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if something is definitely, truly off, I think talking to your pediatrician or a developmental specialist, they can even call us. I am more than welcome to. I will be more than happy to talk to them and see if, they would like to get assessed.
I also think, too, that if you have questions or concerns, I think it's important to know that if you do, because when you're a parent, especially a first-time parent,
Yes,
you don't know what's normal, and you're comparing your baby to everybody else's baby, and some babies are advanced, and that makes you think that your baby's delayed. And but I think if you have any question or concern, just ask your pediatrician, and if they'll either give you the peace of mind that it's okay, this is normal, or they will say, you know what, this is something we need to
seek help for,
yes.
and then give you a referral to see someone like you.
Yeah. So I will be honest with you guys, and I'm going to be very vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
I was in my PhD program, and I had a baby, and my son was delayed. So he actually had major delays in speech. And, I was working full-time, going to school. I had his grandparents help. He was exposed to multiple languages. Whatever the reasoning was, he was delayed. I took him to preschool, and suddenly the preschool teacher is talking to me about the fact that he is not like the children in the class. He had communication delays. And, I've told my son this. He calls himself a late bloomer. But, of course, in other instances, it could be something more serious.
Yeah.
And when I would take him to the pediatrician would ask me, does he have 5 words? I'm like, yeah, he does. But it wasn't real words,
Right.
or it was just words that I understood, or it was made up words.
Yeah.
And I feel as though even though I was in the field, I would try to cover it up. Like, no, he's fine. Like, put it aside, until I was hit with, oh, I think your son has delays in speech. Like, if you
An
don't believe
outside
me,
source.
yeah. And, as a parent, you feel horrible. You're like, what do you mean? This, what? Like, I'm in the field. Like, I should know better than this.
And you feel like, as their parent, like, I failed them. when
Exactly.
That's not the case.
Yeah, you feel horrible. Like, I remember the first week where I realized that, no, I think he needs help.
Yeah.
I cried myself to sleep every single night for a whole week. So I completely understand how our parents feel, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they need help. And they need to be educated what kind of help they can get, and they need to go seek it. Thank goodness we have the resources in the United States of America that are offered to them, or at least in California. And they should totally utilize it.
Yeah, my oldest son, he needed speech therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy. And it's true when you hear, now he was a preemie, so I kind of already was expecting it. But even then, it's like, you feel like you failed your kid, and you're trying to help them, and it's so overwhelming. You're just like trying to take it all in. All these different therapists are telling you, different things of how to help them, and you go home and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? But it's like you have these resources there to help you.
Yes.
And I think that now, he's in kindergarten. He's so smart. We just got his report card back. He's above where he's supposed to be, and it's just like, okay, good. But that's because he needed some intervention. He needed some help to get there,
Correct.
So, but it's the hard part is identifying it and knowing, yes, we have to go seek help.
Yeah.
Because, children, like we always say, like, they're resilient.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the kids don't even really know what's happening. It's like the parents take on all, the feelings, the big emotions of everything. And the kids are just like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm just going to see this person several times a week. We're going to play and learn, and everything's going to resolve itself. So, but thank you so much for sharing that with us. Like, I know that took like a lot, and it's something really hard, especially when it's something close to home. So what is one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about ABA?
They think we're trying to control our kids or control the behavior. Oh, gosh, I wish I could do that to my children.
No, I wish I could do that to myself. I don't know how to control my own behavior, let alone.
Yeah. But truly, we're just trying to use the science of behavior to understand the behavior and just use that to teach them the skills they need to really better their quality of life. Get good at things. You can utilize it, like I said, in anything. And everyone can use it. So
agreed.
It's an amazing, tool.
What are some signs that a child might need extra behavioral support?
So typically it starts with delays in communication. If they're not able to communicate what their wants and needs are, they're going to behave, and they're going to behave with a challenging behavior. And in applied behavior analysis, when we say behavior, we mean it could be anything. It could be the way you talk, the way you speak, the way you act, the way you move your hands.
The way you respond.
Yes, anything that you do that I can see is a behavior because I can measure it and I can take data on it and I can show you graphs that represent what your behavior looks like over time and how it changes. That's why we call it a science. And the biggest sign is typically the delays in communication again. They are not interested in socializing. They don't know how to play with toys. Challenging behaviors can be through the roof. Lack of eye contact. They're not responding to their name. And any other, skills that are suddenly just not going forward, and you feel that they need extra help. If something feels off, I would say always ask.
Yeah. And would you say like frequent meltdowns is a sign like they don't know how to, I don't want to say control their emotions because most kids don't.
Yeah.
But how should a parent respond when their child's having frequent meltdowns?
So first and foremost, you have to remain calm. So that way,
That's
That seems
so
like the
hard.
hardest part.
yes, but it starts with you.
Yeah.
Because they regulate by looking at your emotions.
Yeah.
Right.
So first and foremost, you want to remain calm, and that will help you not be reactive, but more so control yourself so that you can help your child
You have
better.
to be the grounded one.
Yes.
You have to be the grounded one so they can mimic your behavior.
Yeah. And my
Okay.
favorite term is honestly, it's just the behavior. It's just the behavior.
Okay.
Because when my children misbehave or they have challenging behaviors and I want to say something, just because I'm a professional, I'm still human, okay?
Yeah.
I want to say something.
It's human
Yes.
nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just remind myself it's just the behavior and you want to be there to help them communicate their needs better.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, remain calm and think about what is it that they truly want.
Yeah.
And then teach them to communicate for that. If they're not at the talking terms, like let's just say they're not able to communicate with words,
Yeah.
have them use their gestures, pointing, maybe taking your hand and showing you what it is, reinforce that instead of the meltdown.
Yeah.
Because just remember, if they're having a meltdown and then you give them 10 items that they want and you're like, okay, like I'm really trying to help you, which one do you want? And you're giving them everything that they need or want, and you think that you're helping them during that time, you're actually showing them that their meltdown works.
You're rewarding the quote unquote bad behavior.
Correct.
With what they want.
Yes. So you just have to keep calm, wait until the meltdown is done, and if you know exactly what it is, have them communicate for it somehow and reinforce that instead of the meltdown.
Yeah. Is there a tool that you have found either helps for you or that you give advice to parents on how to stay calm? Or is it just like you just breathe and have to do it?
I close my eyes. I think about the music that I like at that moment. I think about what are my goals for my child in the future. Do I want them to tantrum when they're 10, 15, 20? Because they're going to get bigger. They're cute and little right now, but they're not going to stay cute and little forever.
Yeah.
They're going to get bigger. And if you're not reacting appropriately and you're not using the appropriate tools, it's going to get harder and the tantrums can change, and not every child obviously engages in meltdowns and tantrums, but the meltdowns and tantrums can look different from child to child.
True.
But there are cases where the children may engage in some sort of, hitting, kicking, biting.
Like more violent.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really like to call it more violent because I feel bad as a parent. And a lot of parents just have so much guilt already about everything that's going on, where I would rather not, put more labels out there and just make people
Especially
feel
one that
worse.
harsh.
Exactly. However, they're just behaviors, like really just look at it as just the behavior that they're trying to communicate something.
It's not
it's
so
not
much
their fault.
It's not and it's not personal. It feels so personal because that's your child and you're their parent, but they're not mad at you. They're mad at the situation. They don't dislike
they can't
you.
Communicate.
They don't dislike you. They dislike that they want this and they're not getting it, or they can't communicate that with you.
Yeah.
They're mad at the situation, not at the parent.
Yeah.
So
and for those parents that eventually will have teenagers that do have the communication skills to speak, it gets harder because their meltdowns may look like words of hurt that are expressed towards you. But again, it's just the behavior. And if you pay attention to it and you give into it and you start arguing back and forth, it's just going to strengthen it.
Yeah, you
feed
into it and it strains the relationship.
Yes.
Right?
And it's like that with everyone. Don't feed into it.
oh my God.
Remain calm. Think about your next steps before you react.
Think about your favorite song. Close your eyes. These are the tips. Just to rewind a little bit, because I had this thought of how young do kids start ABA, and like how old do they have to be? We did mention this for everyone, but like the kids that you deal with, or you see, like how young are they, and then what's your oldest?
Yeah. I have personally worked with kids as young as 12 months old.
Okay.
And I have worked with an individual that was 65 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I have definitely worked with little ones.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with the
Mm-hmm.
toddlers, the children, the adolescents, the adults, and elderly.
How well do the older patients respond?
So at that point, it's about just making sure that, they're happy and they're taken care of and they're not hurting themselves or others. And if that's the concern, like really just, changing that around and making sure that they are able to be more independent. So again, independence and quality of life is the goal. You want them to have a good quality of life, and you want them to be independent. And no matter how old the child is, or the adult or the teenager, we are big on ensuring that there is assent, meaning that they are okay with, learning. They're okay with providing us with the floor to work with them, because we want their buy-in. We're not going to go and force anyone to do anything.
Yeah.
What would you say to a parent who feels overwhelmed or discouraged?
For a parent who's overwhelmed, the first thing that I want to share is that they are not alone. A lot of parents are overwhelmed. A lot of us, need support. And if a parent is seeking support, it doesn't mean that they're failing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it doesn't mean that you're failing. You are not a bad parent. And I have heard this a lot, where they think that they're bad parents because they're failing, quote unquote, or they're feeling overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. That is absolutely not the case. The fact that you care enough to go and get the resources that you need to fight for your child, to advocate for your child, that right there makes you a hero in my eyes. So continue seeking resources. Get the help. There's a lot of resources out there. And if you think your child will benefit from behavior therapy, then get that too. And remember that it is utilized for everyone. So it's not just for children with autism spectrum disorder. It can help anyone. It can help with delays in communication. It can help with play skills, social skills, everything. So just the fact, again, that you're going out of your way to seek resources to help your child, you're a hero, and your child is going to thank you in the future because you're doing the best for them.
Yeah, no, I really love that, because as a parent too who had to seek therapy for her child, it's like, yeah, you do kind of feel like you're failing your child because they're delayed for whatever reason, or something's wrong for whatever reason. But the fact that you went out to try to seek help, nothing's going to change if you didn't make that step.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like the very first step is to ask for help, and the fact that you did it. And a lot of times, like we mentioned before, parents feel so much guilt.
Yes.
And they bring it on themselves, but they're not thinking, oh, it's just a behavior. They're taking it very personal. And so therefore, like, I do really love what you said. Like, I think it's so important that, parents hear that, because they feel so bad.
Yeah. And, I have a loved one that I'm constantly supporting through this too. He actually has autism spectrum disorder, and his parents continuously just need someone like me or someone just to call them and say, hey, it's okay. Or, don't give up on your child. They can do this. They will learn. They will learn something. They'll go forward. And just reminding them that this is not the end. There's help out there, and they will get the help, and they will change. Really, sometimes is what they need to hear.
Yeah. What are some of the skills that they typically learn in ABA?
Communication is the first one. So we totally collaborate with speech therapists, and we totally teach them how to speak. We use our methods, of course, as well, and our principles. And the next big one that everyone gets excited about is toileting skills, potty training.
Those two.
Yeah, they come hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because, they avoid accidents and lots of other things.
Correct. And it saves you a lot of money with the diapers.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Every child sees progress at their own pace. And with the right support, they will see progress. You just can't guarantee that they're going to see the same exact progress as other children.
Everybody's different.
It's individualized. Yeah. It's very individualized.
I feel like you just answered that question for me. I was going to ask, like, typically how long does it take? And it's always a case by case. Does it also matter, like, the input on, the parents' support? I mean, you guys are there to, like, support the parents already, but how much input does a parent have? Like, how much are they expected to, like, do the exercise? Is it exercises that you guys do?
It's not exercises. Honestly, it's just, like, we play with the kids.
Okay.
And we utilize every opportunity to teach them a skill. And we start with an assessment. We assess what kind of skills and goals they have to learn. If they have challenging behaviors, why are they occurring? What are we going to teach them instead of engaging in a challenging behavior? And then we play with them when we start therapy. We organize and structure their day to be extremely fun so that they're learning while they're having fun. And a lot of our children can be 2 or 3 because early intervention is key. You really want to get therapy at the earliest onset as possible.
Yeah.
The earlier the better.
Yeah, the earlier the better. Exactly. You want them to get therapy as soon as possible. And early intervention is key. So we just utilize what their interests are, whatever their interests are. We try to be Disneyland for them and get them interested in everything and just teach them throughout the day everything. And if I sit here and teach you guys how to do ABA, it probably will take forever.
I love that they make it fun. So the kid it's not like, oh, I have to go to the doctors.
It's not something they dread.
Yeah, they get to go. They get to go play.
Yeah.
They don't feel the learning as much as.
So they should not be sitting by the table all day long and learning. I mean, that doesn't work.
I can't do that.
No, I can't even do that. I have to keep moving every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So they totally run around with the therapist. They swing. They go down the slide. At least for us, like our clinic has an indoor gym. So there's so many more activities that they do. We organize several walks a day. So like they actually go out for a walk. They sit and play in a group. It's literally a lot of play. And then our therapists and supervisors will a lot of times just suggest toys. Hey, we really need this toy. How about this toy? Or they'll send me reels on Instagram like, hey, look, this is a cool idea, isn't it? And I'm like, okay, I got the hint. We'll get it.
Do you find that from when you start seeing a kid towards the end of their journey with you that their confidence has been increased?
Yeah. So confidence really is about skill building. The more skills you have and the better the skills are, the more confidence naturally will flow. So definitely, the more skills they have, the more confidence it builds.
Yeah. And for those kids who have a little bit more trouble learning, or they maybe are advancing a little bit slower, how do you stay positive and encouraging to both the child but also the parent?
Yeah, I highly recommend taking videos of your children as they start therapy weekly, every other day, whatever works, and comparing them every few months. That gives you that objective visual of, was there a change? And also just asking the team to show you the graphs, the visuals of their progress, at least when it comes to ABA, and having regular meetings with the supervisor of the team to just check in and see, hey, what goals were mastered? What can you show me? Like, I want to see what's the next step. What is your vision for my child? This is my vision for my child. Can you help me get there?
Yeah.
They're very involved. I feel like, with video, like with anything, as you're recording things, you're like, oh, wait, they didn't do this several weeks ago.
Yes.
And so it's a positive for the parent, too, because they see their child every day and they might not notice the small things that they do. But now you have video evidence. And that's
It's like
the
when you
data
take
collect.
before and afters, at the gym, and you're like, oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Look at your gains.
I built muscle. Yeah.
And we get written consent from our parents too to allow them to take videos to send it to them as well. And one of the things that happens is sometimes they'll speak in the clinic and they'll start actually for the first time we'll hear their voice and we'll message the parents. They just spoke. They're starting to use their words and the parents are like, okay, but like they don't believe us.
Yeah.
So this happened because we were working with a child recently, and months and months, like me and the supervisor were collaborating, and the supervisor was like, I don't know, I really want to hear her voice. Like 1 week later, she starts using her words, and she was completing a song.
Wow.
Oh.
And they told me, and I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I understand how parents feel because you're like, oh, great, but I didn't hear it. So it doesn't
Cool
give
for
you that
you, but
whole
I
emotion.
didn't.
Yes, it gives you that emotional, like, oh my gosh, hard work finally pays off, right?
Yeah.
So their phone. I said, your phones are allowed to be out because usually our therapists are not allowed to use phones. I'm like, your phones are allowed to be out. We need to get this data for the parent. We need to have this video for the parents so they can see.
Yeah.
And thankfully, we were able to get the video. We sent it to the parent, and she was so happy.
Yeah.
I would be
And-
sobbing.
Yeah.
I would be sobbing.
Everyone was celebrating. It was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Wow. The things that we take for granted, you know, it's like
Yeah.
your baby talks right away.
Yeah.
And everything's normal. It's like there's a lot of people that struggle in that area, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
And it's my favorite when you work with someone for a while and the client does not say any words and you don't know what their voice sounds like.
yeah.
And then finally they start speaking and you're like, oh my God, your voice sounds like this.
So cute.
I thought, yeah. And then sometimes it's like, oh, I thought your voice would sound different than this. So
Yeah.
it's
How
so
crazy.
exciting.
And then like for the client, like a lot of times they're young, but they're hearing their voice for the first time too. Like that's kind of crazy to think about, you know? It's like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. It's really, this is why those of us that end up in the field and see the quality of ABA really stay in it because it's fruitful. It's
Yeah.
a fruitful career.
Yeah. What role do culture and family values play in treatment?
Everything. You really need to take into account the family's language, their background, their culture, even like within the family, like what do they believe in as parents, right? Because you may be coming from a different background, but you as a family, as a husband and wife, as partners, your culture within your home may be a little bit different. So you have to take it into account. That's what will make therapy more effective.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought about that, but that's so true. Everyone's family life is different.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
understanding the background too, understanding the grandparents. I mean, grandparents play a big role.
They
Yes.
do. They
And-
definitely do.
Just even getting them on the same page and just ensuring that they can help our kids is a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, Luiza, where can families find you or learn more about, you personally?
Yeah. So I have a professional Instagram account at I am Dr. Luiza, and Adamant has a professional account as well at Adamant Behavioral Services. So if families ever want to reach out, they are more than welcome to send a message to at I am Dr. Luiza, and I will respond immediately. At Adamant Behavioral Services is managed by me and one or two other people.
Yeah.
So it's not always going to be me responding, but we will be there to help if anyone ever has questions or if they want to call and schedule an appointment with me. I will be more than happy to do that as well.
Where can families contact you?
Yeah, if they need ABA therapy and they would like to work with Adamant Behavioral Services, they can call us at 818-330-9006 or email us at info@adamantservices.com.
I'll link all that information too in the description
Yeah,
so they
for
can
sure.
find it.
If you can give every parent one behavior superpower, what would that be?
That would be pausing before reacting.
Oh my gosh. When I read that question, I was like, that would be what I need because I just react. And as I'm talking, I'm like, Veronica, shut your mouth. Be quiet. So I need you to give me that superpower, please.
We need like an actual, a round. And then can it be like more than 30 seconds? Like 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds.
No, that's such a good one, though.
Yeah. I mean, just think of it. If you take a pause, it will help you actually be intentional with the way you're responding and not emotional.
Yeah.
And you responding in a reactive manner isn't going to calm your child down. It's also not going to calm yourself down. Nothing good comes from that. You know, it's just going to escalate whatever situation, even if it's a small situation. You know, they're throwing a tantrum for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can calm down, it kind of sets the tone, and that's the only way they're going to calm down.
And just remember that everything that you do and say is imitated by your children.
Yeah, I find that it's kind of scary.
It is. And it's hilarious because when I used to work with a lot of adolescents, parents would be like, can you please make them stop using bad words? And it's a very uncomfortable question, but I have to ask, do you use bad words at home?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they'll look at me and they'll giggle. And I'm like, well, we'll have to start with you.
Yeah. It's so, my son's kindergarten, not the teacher, but the aide, she was telling the parents a few weeks ago, she's like, you would be surprised what your children come in this classroom and tell us. We know a lot more about you guys than you would like us to know. I'm like, oh my gosh.
You sit there, wonder, what did they tell them?
I know.
What did they say?
And I mean, like, little kids, they just, and sometimes it's, you know, they perceive it wrong. So they'll probably, the story's not completely accurate, but it's just, you know, I could just imagine
so much,
being on the receiving end of that information. Like, your mom did what? You know, it's just like, oh my, ever since she said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, good. Noted.
Noted, and not going to talk in front of you. I have to have like adult time, like private conversations.
Yeah.
Things I can't say around you.
I mean, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes, and mistakes are going to happen. We just need to take a pause and just realize that we made a mistake and learn from it and move forward. We can't beat ourselves up continuously.
And kids are also going to make mistakes, and the kids will see, how do you respond to the mistakes you make? That's how they'll mirror that too. You
exactly.
know? Like,
how do you provide customer service? How do you talk with a cashier?
Yeah.
What do you do when someone cuts you off in front of the on the
freeway.
road or like the freeway? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Trust me, they watch all the time and they repeat.
Yeah.
If they don't repeat now, they'll repeat.
Well, thank you, Dr. Andakyan, for breaking this down in a way that really supports families and makes behavior therapy feel less intimidating. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who may need it. In addition, remember, asking for help is strength, not weakness. And as always, stay engaged, stay curious, and stay healthy. Bye.